I hate women in video games. There you go, I said it. Now that I got your attention, allow me to explain. No, I do not hate women being in video games. Rather, I hate how women are represented in video games. Women are not necessarily represented as well women. No, wait, let me rephrase that. There are not many feminine characters in games. Note, by masculinity and femininity, I don't mean men and women, but characteristics. Both men and women have masculine and feminine characteristics. Allow me to explain. 8 years ago, in 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn was released. In the game, we play as Aloy, a young woman raised as a tribal outcast by a single man, Rost, whom she loses at the beginning of the game. Aloy is represented as this beautiful, strong, independent woman who doesn't tolerate any bullshit and begins her journey to understand her past and birth. She makes it very clear to any person she meets along the way that she will be on this journey alone and is willing to go through anything to accomplish her goals. Next, let's go back in time 21 years to 1996, a year when most possibly many of you weren't even born yet. The year when we got our very first Tomb Raider and the iconic Lara Croft. Definitely one, if not the most well-known female video game protagonist. Back in 1996, she looked like this. She, from the beginning, is this fearless, beautiful, sexy adventurer and a badass action hero. Okay, not all games are like this. But if we go back yet another 10 years, to the year 1986, the first Legend of Zelda was released. This time, you are not a badass sexy protagonist, but a male hero in a quest to save Hyrule Princess Zelda, a helpless young woman from the jaws of great evil. And even in the 1979 video game Sheriff, you had to defeat evil bandits to save a girl and be rewarded with a kiss. Do you see where I'm getting at? No. Not that Nintendo is the source of all evil. There are really only two options for women in games. 1, you are a hyper-masculine, sexualized killing machine. Or 2, you're a helpless young princess destined to be saved by a slightly overweight middle-aged plumber from an evil tortoise. Regardless of the case, women are objectified to fill the fantasies of young men dreaming of them in their neon green PU leather gaming chairs with the lights off. Before we blast off, I want to state one thing. I am in no means a professional about the subject. Although I have done some research, a lot of this is my personal observations and what I've learned from women in various sources. Also, I'm not talking about mechanics or the games themselves being bad, only about the role of women characters, okay? Let's go. So, what is this aforementioned objectification? Objectification means treating a person as an object, regardless of one's personality or dignity. In real life, this can happen in the form of a wet t-shirt contest, where women are meant to be looked at and evaluated based on their bodies. To add, this is not only a problem to us women, but also, for example, men, transgendered, and marginalized individuals like people of color. In role-playing games, this objectification typically occurs when women are given extremely revealing armor. In contrast, male armor is huge and bulky, providing a lot of protection for the character and showing that they are tough guys. Women exist only to be pleasurable to look at for men. Okay, well, how about, every Street Fighter character ever? They are wearing extremely revealing armor and are still cool as fuck. You know what? You're absolutely right. That is empowering. Again, for men. Before someone types in the comments how this bikini armor empowers women by showing how tough they are when not needing full protection, it's not true. And these are not my words, it's the women who speak here. A nipple is not a nipple. Female nipples and breasts are sexualized, not male. There is another name for this form of sexual objectification. It's called the male gaze, where essentially the female body has been created as something for the heterosexual male or patriarchal society as a whole to watch, conquer, and possess. This is not just about how women are used to satisfy male fantasy, but also how this gaze, whether it's directed at them or others, makes women feel about themselves. This can lead to internalization. Women growing up can buy into this narrative and learn to think that other women are sluts when they wear slightly revealing cocktail dresses, and can lead to tying the value of oneself to physical appearance rather than actions or personalities. This can further lead to women feeling that they are worthless without a man. Have you ever heard someone saying, you need a boyfriend, husband, man, especially from a woman to woman? Well, I have, and that is exactly what I mean. Now, I'm not a woman, so I'm not the right person to speak about this. It is just something that I'm aware of, and if you want to know more, ask a woman in your circle. Regardless of me being a heterosexual male in my late 20s, I still feel disgusted about the amount of sexualization in video games. I love role-playing games, but this is one of the main reasons why I don't play as a female character. This brings forth my second point. The lack of complex and interesting women characters. Usually, women characters are written to be shallow, boring, replaceable, and helpless. Help! Think about Mario, for instance. The main plotline of most of the Mario game is that the protagonist, Mario, a man, sets off a mission to save Princess Peach, a woman. She, as character, lacks depth, isn't exciting, is replaced by Princess Daisy in Super Mario Land, and is nothing more than helpless. This helplessness is something I want to tackle a little bit more. Women in video game often exist only as motivation for the hero's quest in the game, and frankly, I think it sucks. This phenomenon is called damsel in distress, and it is the single most boring and unimaginative storytelling that can possibly exist. And if you back Mario by saying that it is a 30-year-old video game, then why does Bowser keep kidnapping her and saving her keeps being the main plotline of the game for another 21 times? Important to note here is that the problem doesn't exist only in video games, but in other media as well. Snow White by Walt Disney hit the theaters, I guess, in 1937. While the story is about a girl who lived with 7 weird male dwarfs and was responsible for their household duties, in the end it was the random prince who came and rescued the day by kissing the unanimated body of a 14-year-old girl. My point looming somewhere in the distance is that since 1937, children have been watching and consuming this narrative in animated pictures. And these movies especially spoke to the young girls, being princess movies and all. Princesses are seen as these silent, kind, mild characters, and these attributes young girls grew to see as virtues. This is how a good girl and a good woman should behave. On the other hand, villains are extroverted, loud, wild, and strong characters with compelling backstories. These villainy attributes are seen as bad, unattractive, and repulsive. So, how do video games affect children and teenagers then? Well, games have typically been made for boys. Classic games for boys contain cars, more cars, fast cars on fire, guns, cars with guns, and everything that could as well be directed by Michael Bay. Games for girls, on the other hand, have horses. And not these kind of horses, but these. They typically are mild, don't have guns or cars, but are more about caretaking, simulation, and cute pink sparkly stuff. So this enhances the idea that girls should be quiet and mild, like princesses. Boys, on the other hand, can be whatever they want. Well, not actually. The flip side of the coin is that boys are laughed at if they enjoy stereotypical girls' games or mild and cozy games. Of course, this doesn't mean that girls can't play or enjoy the stereotypical boys' games, but they are not made or marketed for them. It also doesn't mean that girls shouldn't enjoy stereotypical girls' games. People are different and they should be able to enjoy whatever they want. But my point is exactly that stereotypization. These stereotypes can lead to a problem called the double bind, where essentially a person adapts to the characteristics and personalities that are expected of them. In Horizon Zero Dawn, we follow Aloy, a fierce warrior destined to save the world from a rogue AI named Hades, who wants to devour the world with terraforming machines, the same kind of event that happened in the past and led to the events of the game. Even though she's been made to be this strong and independent woman, she still lacks depth. She's cold, distant, and emotionless, all masculine characteristics, and not the healthy kind. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad on its own, it makes sense given her character's background. Rather, this is how almost every character in history is, regardless of gender or sex. Also, she's definitely made for the male gaze. These are not only problems with women. Men and other genders are equally affected by this. We've given this narrative that a good and strong leader has to be cold, tough, and emotionless, and that the only thing that constitutes real power is physical strength and violence. This is something that I learned when I was a kid. It is weak to cry. These are also characteristics that we value, for example, in capitalistic business life. To attain leadership positions, women have to adapt to masculine characteristics. This is the double bind. This is not because a great leader has to be cold and calculative, it's because we think a great leader has to be cold and calculative. There is no representation of any other kind of leadership, because throughout history, men have been sitting in leading positions, and that is because men didn't think women were worthy or capable to lead. Yes, by this definition, there are not many well-designed male characters with a lot of depth or complexity either. But that's precisely the point here. I'd like to see characters with more nuanced motivation than my wife and daughter were killed by me, and I have to get my manly, muscular, testosterone-filled revenge against the god because it's their fucking fault, not my own. Ares! Let me take an example. Dante's Inferno. Dante, aka the player, cheats on his wife and ignores her multiple times until she is killed and dragged to hell. Dante dives headfirst into hell to rescue her soul. In the end, Lucifer reveals that he used Beatrice to lure Dante into hell.
Did you really think this was all about the girl? She was the bait!
Though Dante is the asshole in the game, it is still about him and he's the hero. Beatrice, on the other hand, is a sexualized damsel in distress, and is used as an object to lure the hero to the adventure. She's a trophy, not a real person. Now hold up. Isn't Dante's Inferno based on a book called The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri? Yes, but only loosely.
I mean, Dante didn't beat up Kerberos made of worms with a scythe stolen from death itself in the book. There was artistic freedom and vision, so they could have done better.
This game points out another problem, which is called the Madonna Mistress complex, or maybe better known as the Madonna whore complex. This theory, provided by Dr. Sigmund Freud, states that a man is incapable of maintaining a sexual arousal in a loving and committed relationship. While many critique Freud's theories as overly simplistic and outdated, the Madonna Mistress complex highlights a damaging division in how women are perceived, as either pure and virtuous or as sexual objects devoid of any meaningful value. Are we seeing a pattern here? In the case of the game, Dante doesn't feel a strong sexual desire towards Beatrice when they are in a relationship, and Madonna. But immediately when she's snatched away by an evil grey ghost man, she becomes the damsel in distress, both an object and an object of desire, a mistress.
In media, women are almost always reduced to this visual object of desire, and men will own the narrative.
Women are cast into the role of Madonna or the mistress, the whore, femme fatale, rather than treated as characters with ambitions and complex emotions.
So, how have the games evolved to this day?
Well, like in the Super Mario case, not that much. We are still, to this date, making the same kind of lame stories. I'd like to see something different for once. More complex emotions, empathy, and caring, yet strong leaders and characters. A good example of how things have evolved in a better direction is the Horizon series. Whoa, wait a moment. I just some time ago said that Aloy is a poorly made character. Well, yes, but actually no. Yes, Aloy is distant, cold, emotionless, in a way a man in a skirt. This doesn't mean that she is not a well-written character, and is not true to her past and experience, but the characters around her bring to the game the emotions, complexity, and the contrast she lacks. Varl, one of her best friends, is really emotionally intelligent. The Sun King Avad, while being a bit too flirty with Aloy, is at heart caring, empathic, and gentle. Seika, who shares a lot with Aloy, becomes the first person for whom Aloy could possibly trust her heart with.
These characters and many more bring a beautiful contrast to the emotionally lacking protagonist, and allow her the space to trust and feel once again.
I'm not saying that the characters in Horizon are the best ever written, but there is a lot of good. And I really like the game and the story. Except the whole fucking humankind living in space and coming back as Superman bullshit. But that is for another video.
Then there is Senua. She's a warrior with a mental illness. She found her loved one being sacrificed to pagan gods by Norsemen and journeyed on a quest to retrieve his soul from Helheim. Yes, there are these masculine aspects of her being a warrior, but she is a really complex character. She has a lot of depth. She conquers her fears and in the end, lets go of her loved one, moves on, and accepts herself as she is. Senua represents a feminine character with masculine traits, which are not the main characteristics of the character.
And now, let me introduce one of the greatest video game characters representing these feminine characteristics. Meet Kratos. Okay, I don't mean this Kratos. I mean this Kratos. Kratos as a character has literally evolved from this hateful and angry god-slaughtering testosterone monster to this loving and caring father, as well as god-slaughtering testosterone monster.
When Kratos tells Atreus to open his heart, it has to be one of the best moments in gaming.
Open your heart. Open your heart to their suffering.
Now, I don't imply that Kratos is a better woman than, a woman. What I mean is the characteristics we can see in today's Kratos are something society associates as feminine characteristics, and we don't see these in video games too often. Characteristics of warmth, love, care, and empathy are not typical for a strong leader as we see them as a collective society. Yet Kratos is a stronger and better leader than ever before when opening himself to these emotions. I want to add one more game to this list. Let's jump back 33 years, to the year 1982. The first female protagonist in a game was Billy Sue in the game Wabbit. Billy was a farmer, tasked to defend her carrot field from rabbits. Not a super deep plot line or crazy mechanics. But there was something else, or rather lack of something, which made it stand out. The protagonist was not over-sexualized, nor a damsel in distress. She wasn't a trophy for the real hero of the game. She was a woman with a task in her hands to defend the crops from invading rabbits. She was the hero. Yes, I do understand that isn't pretty. And while male protagonists were saving kingdoms, the woman was only saving her carrots. But in the end, you have to begin with something. This was that something. And to be honest, it could have been much worse. Gaming is not a boys' thing anymore. Not that it ever was. More and more women and others play games of different genres, and we get more and more awesome gaming content creators who are not men. Even though the direction is right, we still have much to learn. I feel this video may cause distress and be controversial to many, but it needed to be done. The point of this video wasn't to talk shit about games and gamers. I just wanted to point out these unacceptable flaws that the games and the industry have. Even though they are just Games, they encourage these bad habits and behaviors by normalizing them as entertainment. By dressing women in games in a revealing outfit, it makes us objectify women in real life. By giving women helpless and miserable roles in games, they normalize that in real life, that women are worthless.
No! Get away!
Again, of course, this is not only a problem in games, but here, on this channel, we love games and we want to talk about games. Once again, for the people in the back. Women and men and everyone get to be who they are, and games need to reflect that. Using cheap stereotypes and tropes needs to stop. I'm going to let Kratos say the final words.
The cycle ends here. Must be better than this.
Thank you for watching. Remember to hit that like and comment so we can spread this video more widely. One goal I aim with this channel is to create a diverse, inclusive, equal and non-toxic gaming space and community. Join us on our Discord server to help us reach the goal. And finally, credit where credit is due. A huge shout out to Feminist Frequency for being my major inspiration and a big source of information for this video. I also want to thank my girlfriend for helping me create this video. All the important links are in the description. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our channels. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.